Hi. This project is quite different from what I have been doing up till now. Basically, I have turned a chunk of a game into a book. The game I am talking about is The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, which is generally regarded as one of the best RPG to this day. Deliberately known for its great story, characters, and dialogues. Even if you have never heard about it, I would be really glad if you at least tried it. Maybe you'll like it, and if not, you can always leave. The main reason of why am I doing this preface is because I want to inform you in advance that I had to change a ton of things. Not only because a lot of decisions in The Witcher 3 are left in players' hands, and so obviously I had to always choose only one option, but mainly because the difference between games and books is astronomical, and while the game focuses a lot on gameplay, a good book focuses mainly on the story. And so, I advise you not to think about it as some Witcher 3 remake, but as its own story. If you have any questions regarding the changes, let me know in the comments. I will respond. And now, let's begin. What a terrible stench. For once, Geralt regretted his sharpened senses, which rendered foul but relatively faint stench into an unbearable one. Well, still not half as bad as some elixirs, he thought while holding his nose. It's done, stated the man in front of him, straightening up. He was a tall man with grey hair falling over his broad shoulders. He was old. In fact, he was one of the oldest people Geralt ever knew, surpassed only by a few elves, few sorcerers, and a vampire. However, despite his age, his movement felt energetic, as if he couldn't wait to grab the sword on his back and stab its blade to the heart of some dragon, or, in this case, a griffin. His name was Vesemir. The thing he just finished was the source of the disgusting smell. It was a dead lamp designed in such a way that it would look alive, anointed with a buckthorn extract. It was a lure. Now, all we have to do is wait. Come on, we can cover in the shades of those birches. They went to the largest clump of trees on the flat plain to set up an ambush on the royal griffin. Here, take this. He took out two small vials containing some purple fluid and handed him one. A blizzard? Do you think we should drink it even when there are two of us? Don't overestimate our abilities. Even if there were 10 of us, the griffin would still be extremely dangerous. One misstep and you can get badly hurt, or even killed. We will be better not to risk it. I know, but after drinking blizzard, we won't be able to think clearly. We'll lose the ability to coordinate attacks, and we might even get in others' way. Very well then. I didn't want to drink that crap anyway. But in that case, take this one too. Vesemir handed him the second vial. You'll need it more than me, and I'll have a lot of time to make some more. So, you are going to Kaer Morhen? A little early to settle in for the winter. Snows are way off, yes, and that's what worries me. Nilfgaard crossed the Pontar in the east, puts them maybe a week's march from Kaer Morhen. If they reach the valley before the snows can cover the passes, well, we need to cover our tracks, hide our paths. Speaking of winter and wintering, think you'll come this year? Maybe. Might bring a guest. The two witches waited motionless, covered by trees, one with grey hair, one with white hair. They each had a sword in their hands. The blades were beautiful, reflecting the evening sun in such a way that no steel could ever come close to. Several years ago, at the Witcher's fortress of Kar Mohan. Uncle Vesemir, can I now finally go play with Triss? Very well, Siri. But first, you have to tell me everything you learned about griffins. Okay, so, griffin is a hybrid of a lion and an eagle, but its size is more comparable to bears. Their back legs, tail and body are that of a lion, while wings, claws and head are eagle-like. And how do you fight such a creature? You lure it with the buckthorn extract, or you ambush it at its nest. It's best to attack it when it's on the ground, but if that's not possible, the art sign is a great way to get it out of the sky. If everything goes well, the Witcher will be able to get a clean hit with his silver sword. The pain that comes with it will make the griffin very furious, and furious griffin usually doesn't flee. Even though the rage can be very dangerous, experienced Witcher will use it to his advantage, and he will continuously bait out attacks until there is an opportunity to strike its weak point, for example eyes, neck or stomach. Good, Siri. You learn quickly. And now tell me, how do the griffins live? I mean, how and what do they hunt, how do they mate, and so on. Oh, about that, I didn't read it. You didn't? Why, Siri? I clearly told you. Yeah, I know, but what's the point of it anyway? When I'll become a witcher, I will be killing them. I'm not supposed to admire how they mate. Siri, we already talked about this. You aren't going anywhere until you read it properly and recite it like a poem. But, Uncle Vesemir, you promised me that I can go to Triss when I tell you everything I learned about griffins. And that I did. She looked at him with her big green eyes, hands on her hips, proud of the grand ruse she played on him, and gave him the cheekiest smile Vesemir had ever seen. And even though he didn't want to, he couldn't help but to smile back. He truly started to like her. It was almost as if she was his real niece. A high-pitched noise cut through the calm of the evening sunset, and the flapping of a mighty wings began to be heard. The two witches made sure that they were always covered by the birches from the griffin's point of view. They couldn't afford to be detected by its eagle eyes. The flapping sound was getting louder as the distance between the beast, its prey, and its hunters rapidly shortened, while the two witches were waiting patiently for the right opportunity to strike. As was the griffin nearing the lure, it made another ear-scratching sound, maybe in confusion of why isn't the lamp moving. At the same time, the two witches rushed from their hiding spot, silver swords in hands. The sharp eyes of the griffin immediately noticed the two intruders, trying to interrupt it mid-hunt. But they were too late. The griffin quickly grabbed the smelly prey, which put suspiciously low effort to break free from its kidnapper, and immediately flight upwards. It seemed that the beast will have its stomach full tonight, while the two hunters will end up with empty hands. Maybe he should kill the humans too. But no, they didn't retreat even though they clearly saw that he was pursuing the same target as them. They are probably much more dangerous than they seem. He would be better not to risk it. If he just flies off with his food, there will be nothing for them to do about it. The two witches both extended their left hands, and then, in unison, casted a sign. A moment later, a thunder-like sound mercilessly attacked their eardrums, while the griffin fell backwards, dropping its prey on the ground as it was stricken by an enormous force. Geralt didn't waste any time and jumped to the monster that was recovering from the fall. He was hoping for a quick kill, but he wasn't willing to do pointless risks. Geralt managed to sneak a quick hit on the side of its neck, but it was just a surface wound. Not nearly enough to kill a royal griffin. In a reaction, it dashed with the whole eagle side to the left and simultaneously slashed with its powerful claws. It would have been a devastating blow, but Geralt dodged it before the counterattack even began, and as a bonus, he managed to slash the overextended limb with his sword. Since he didn't build up any momentum, it wasn't more than just a scratch, but because of the silver, it still had to be very painful. The griffin dashed and slashed once again, and Geralt once again dodged. But sadly, he didn't find any opportunity to punish it again. The griffin was preparing to jump. Geralt didn't see any visual clues that would hint at it, but his century of experience killing monsters warned him. He cut through the air less than a feet from the griffin's eyes, which forced it to change its mind. Geralt hoped it would give Vesemir the time for another successful hit, but he didn't dare to get his eyes off his opponent. A moment later, the griffin made a terrifying roar, which let him know that his hopes came true. Geralt looked for another opportunity to strike again, but the wounded beast quickly made it impossible. It made another roar, and, most likely feeling overwhelmed by the two attackers, started slashing with its four limbs left and right, back and front. It looked almost comically, but it was deadly nonetheless. Geralt didn't develop any effort to attack it in this state. It would have been too dangerous, and the griffin definitely didn't have energy to do this for long. But then, the griffin did something unexpected. It turned in the direction where there wasn't Geralt nor Vesemir, and started flying away. There were dozens of griffins Geralt had slayed in his long life, but none had ever done anything like this. Maybe two witchers were too much on this one, and the fact that they were attacking him from all sides and dodged all his attempts at counterattack made it feel desperate. But it didn't really matter why it flied off. The important thing was, how are they going to catch up? Because of the heavy bleeding, it won't fly too far and they definitely won't lose it. But Geralt feared that it will land in some place with difficult access. It would be best if they killed it now. They both started running. Geralt was first and Vesemir close after him. Due to the wounds, the griffin wasn't flying very fast, but it was slowly gaining height, so if they wanted to strike it down, they would have to do it now. But it still wasn't clear how are they going to do it. It seemed it was already too late, and one more bad news. There was a steep sandstone outcrop about 9 feet high right in front of them. Of course, it wouldn't be any problem to climb it, but it would lose a few very valuable seconds. On the other hand, it will give them some height, which they could potentially use to reach their target. If only they had a way to overcome the obstacle without losing any time. Can you help me with jump? Use Ard! Vesemir took his time with answer, as if thinking if it was a good idea. But when they were just a few seconds before the outcrop, he replied, "Yes." And so Geralt jumped. While thinking about how is he going to catch the griffin after the landing, He leaned forward slightly and raised his knees as high as he could, and then he felt a powerful pressure from below, which boosted him up just enough that he could comfortably land in a long somersault. Then he used up all the strength in his legs to make another jump, and stretched his right hand behind him, and then he threw his sword with all of his might at the griffin that was flying about 12 feet above him. In a normal situation, Witcher would never throw his sword like this, and even while doing it, Geralt was still unsure if it was the best decision. But in this moment, the weapon he threw wasn't the only silver sword nearby, and since the target was big and very close, there was basically no chance of missing. The only question was if the hit on an already heavily wounded griffin and the following fell would be enough to kill it, or if he still has some work to do. Even before he hit the ground again, he turned 180 degrees, and so he didn't see how the silver sword plunged deep into the hairy lion belly. Then he shouted at Vesemir, "Sword!" However, the shout was interrupted by the most high-pitched and ear-scratching sound yet, which was a good sign. Maybe he won't need Vesemir's swords after all. Vesemir didn't shout anything in return. He just threw his sword, although not in the way Geralt threw his one just a moment ago. Geralt skillfully caught the sword and instantly turned back at the griffin that had just fallen with a massive thud. He made 3 quick light jumps, ending the third jump with a very bent knees, and without losing a moment, he casted an art sign. The griffin, just recovering from the fall, was raising its head, which, after being hit by the powerful sign from below, flew upwards perfectly exposing the long feathered neck. In one single fluid motion, Geralt took a big step forward while slashing with all his might at the beast's neck. A few feathers started slowly falling on the ground, but strangely, there was no blood. Geralt, who was sure this is going to be a mortal blow, was so surprised that his dodge was just a moment late. The griffin slashed with its left claw, and so Geralt quickly jumped to the right, but he wouldn't be fast enough. While midair, Geralt struck the claw with his sword. It didn't push the claw away from Geralt, but it pushed Geralt away from the claw, and so the dodge was successful. And on top of that, Geralt gained an enormous momentum, which he used to make another jump and a pirouette, which resulted in a powerful vertical blow right in the places where the lion was turning into an eagle. Then he immediately dodged another strike even before it began. Now the griffin was very exhausted, and so it wasn't as fast to follow up on attacks, and it left its overextended limb on the ground just a moment too long. Geralt saw a glorious opportunity in this, and he didn't hesitate to use it. He gripped his sword with both of his hands and made a long movement with it to build up more force, and then he struck from above. The hollow bird bones cracked, and the griffin had one deadly weapon less. Now finally his Geralt dared to look around for a brief moment, and then he started to quickly think through his options. He could easily let the griffin bleed to death, but it would take some time, and it would also be cruel to the beast. Because of these reasons, he chose a different method. One could say it is risky, but after considering the state Griffin's in, Geralt seriously doubted that. He tossed his sword to his left and made a loudest roar he was capable of to draw all of the Griffin's attention to him. He was successful. The Griffin's predatory eyes were pointed on him, and from its beak came a sound in response, sound full of pain and wrath. The monster readied itself for its final jump, but it didn't get the chance to finish it. The silver sword went through the feathered throat and colored it bright red. It was held by Vesemir. The dying royal griffin made a bubbly noise, and, for a short while, it twitched convulsively, until it finally stopped. The two witchers took several deep breaths to lower the level of now useless adrenaline, and began to converse. "Your sword, it's goddamn short," said Geralt. "You didn't think it would be the exact copy of yours, did you? When I caught it, I didn't have much time to think about anything. A witcher should always analyze all the important parts of a battlefield, and he will never be caught off guard. Strange. As if I already heard that somewhere. Any idea where? What's with that sarcasm? I said it because you obviously need to relearn the lesson. Whatever. Will you help me with this? Of course. With their combined efforts, they managed to turn the body of the dead griffin on the side, in order to free Geralt's silver sword, now covered with blood and feces. Geralt looked at it with disgust, and began to clean it on the monstrous hair, while Vesemir was working on separating its head from the body as a proof of its demise. When they were both finished, Vesemir said, "Take the griffin's head to the Black Ones. I'll ready our horses. Meet me at the inn." The Nilfgaardian garrison was stationed in the ruins of a small fortress. In terms of defense, it wouldn't provide much more than a simple hill. No army would have any problems conquering this place in a few hours, and in the worst case, a day. However, there was no army apart from the Nilfgaardians in Temeria, if you didn't count the scattered groups which called themselves the guerrillas. The guards let Geralt in when he told them, and more importantly, showed them his reason of visit. On his left, behind one or maybe two dilapidated walls, could be heard a periodical whiplash followed by a loud pained cry. Geralt didn't pay much attention to it, and purposely headed to the residence of the captain, to collect his promised reward. Some of the soldiers gazed at him and his trophy, while their officers and trainers very loudly reminded them of what their attention should be focused on. Somewhere from behind, his ears caught the word Vadgern, which means witcher in the common speech. The captain's quarters were surprisingly small, and in the same state as the rest of the ruins. Geralt showed the griffin's head to another pair of guards, and so one of them called the captain. The Nilfgaardian captain was of an average stature, with a short black hair and short black beard, small black eyes, and heavy black armor adorned with a golden sun. "I see you have killed the griffin," he stated, in a thick Nilfgaardian accent. "Fulfilled my end of the bargain. Your turn. Where'd Yennefer go?" "To Vizima. She was a day's ride from here, the whole time, under my nose. Might have said so. Yes, I might have. But you would not have killed the griffin. Tit for tat." Geralt turned around and was about to leave, but the captain's strong voice stopped him. "Halt! We are not done. It's yours, this gold. I would not want you to say you were inadequately compensated." After a very short pause, Geralt took the coin without a word and left. No one could describe it as ungenerous reward. The inn was full and noisy as ever, but the space where a man with grey hair, weird yellow eyes, and a sword on his back was sitting was strangely empty and quiet. Geralt sat across from him and without wasting time said, "Yennefer's in Vizima. Got a few friends there, so..." "Something wrong?" "Look around. Trouble brewing." Wesemir gestured casually at a table occupied by four loud, obviously drunk rags. "Who are they?" asked Geralt. "Patriots, drinking their 7th round for Temeria. Fists starting to itch." "Don't see any Nilfgaardians." "They'll find another foe," predicted Wesemir. "I will buy some provisions for the journey, then we'll go. Geralt, we should stay out of it. Just this once." Wesemir got up from the table and headed for the bar, while Geralt quietly kept an eye on the proud Temerians.
"What happened to the lilies?"
asked a young woman sitting right next to the bar.
"Took them down,"
answered an elderly woman behind the bar.
"Took them down? To hang a golden sun now? I cannot show Temerian colors. They will come and burn the tavern down." "Maybe it's true what they say. You fond of the Imperials, you Nilfgaard's whore." "I will let that pass. I know grief eats at your heart." "You know shit. They hanged my sister, dragged her out of the cloister like a dog. Said Nilfgaard's no place for superstitions. That they don't fear the wrath of gods. And you? Do you fear it? If not for any, your child would have choked on its narrow string."
The girl caught the innkeeper by the hand and pulled hard, so that her face was about a foot away from hers face.
"Let go!"
cried the innkeeper, but the woman didn't and continued to accuse her with increasingly louder and more intense voice.
"You owe your son to my sister, attending to the birth, and you don't fear the gods' wrath?"
She grabbed the poor woman by the head while she was desperately trying to free herself. Nobody helped.
"You don't fear it, you can't!"
She hit her head on the wooden counter, and then again and again, until Wesemir finally decided to step in, grab her arms, and put an end to her furious outburst.
"Leave me be!"
She screamed and broke free from his grip. One of the patriots jumped to Wesemir and strongly pushed him. Geralt, seeing the situation escalating, quickly got up and saw that the rest of the thugs did the same. "Recognize this medallion." Wesemir showed them his medallion with the wolf's head depicted on it. "You know what it means. Back off." "Are you alright?" Geralt asked the innkeep. She looked at him from the floor behind the counter, holding her nose and mouth that were heavily bleeding. She didn't say anything, and Geralt couldn't help her, not now. "They say witches steal young ones. That true?" "Get out, all of you," tried Wesemir, but it was a futile effort. They drew out things which could be generously labeled weapons. 2 buttons, an axe, which was definitely not made for battle, and a rusty sword that was probably stolen from a nearby battlefield. The witches took out their own steel swords, that were on the other hand in perfect condition. "They won't back down now," stated Vesemir. I can see that, responded Geralt. One of the drunks, the one with the axe, was lucky. He collapsed before he could get killed. However, the other three weren't so lucky. As soon as Geralt finished the last one, he wiped his sword on his coat, then he straightened up. People were either backing away, or screaming, or both. And the innkeeper shouted,
Be gone, and don't ever come back.
So much for not getting involved. Come on, let's go. There was nothing left to do, nothing but leave. Geralt knew it from experience. They both knew it. They opened the door, planning to set off for Vizima immediately. But an unpleasant surprise greeted them in front of the inn. 4 men in black armor with a golden sun on it. That brawl? We didn't start it, explained Geralt.
Excuses, excuses,
Said a female voice. A voice that demanded authority even though it sounded more playful now. Suddenly, Geralt's nose caught a scent he knew all too well, despite it being a long time since he last had the pleasure to smell it. The scent of lilac and gooseberry. The Nilfgaardians made way for the woman, and so Geralt saw that she hasn't changed a bit. She looked young as ever, dressed only in black and white. Her raven hair fell down her back in a seemingly disheveled fashion, and her eyes flashed like a purple lightning.
You haven't changed a bit.
She put her hands on her hips, standing before Geralt in all her beauty. Yen? How? Geralt wanted to know.
I received a report about a witcher who had appeared in the White Orchard. I knew it was you, looking for me. I might have waited until you found me, but you know me. Patience has never been my strong suit. It's good to see you, Geralt. I would even embrace you, were you not covered in blood.
Sorry, wasn't expecting to meet you. To be honest, this isn't at all how I imagined we'd meet.
How did you imagine it?
He didn't imagine you'd have a Nilfgaardian escort, Vesemir interjected. Don't get me wrong, Yennefer. I'm glad to see you, but I do think you owe us an explanation.
And I shall provide it. In Vizima. Ready your horses.
We can talk here. Some charming orchards nearby. In bloom, even, so you almost can't smell the corpses.
A tempting proposition. Sadly, I must say no. You see, someone awaits you in Vizima. Someone who doesn't like to be kept waiting. Emperor Emhir Embrace. Or, to those on more intimate terms with him, the white flame dancing on the graves of his foes.
Doubt I number among the group. Far as I remember, last time we saw each other, he wanted to kill me.
Well, now he wishes to make you an offer.
The kind one can't refuse? Asked Vesemir.
I didn't, though I could have.
Must have been a damn good offer then, assumed Geralt. Not many things you'd give up your freedom for, and even fewer people.
The sooner we set off, the sooner you will find out.
What about you? Asked Geralt Vesemir. I am going in the opposite direction. I somehow doubt the Emperor's invitation mentioned me. Besides, I've got things to do at Karamohen. Remember? Yeah, I remember. Thanks for your help, Vesemir. See you soon. They shook hands tightly, and Geralt went after Yennefer that was waiting for him.
How is your horse? Swift?
Can't complain. Why do you ask?
I would like to be back behind some thick city walls as soon as possible. How is your horse?